Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video I'm going to be using the Planners Anonymous Shop Till You Drop kit to make this cute little gift card holder book. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so all of the inspiration for this project comes from one little die cut. It's this little thing, and what I had originally thought was I'd do like a fold out savings tracker or something like that. You know, I'm a crap saver. I don't save, I spend. So I thought that would be silly. So I started thinking about, okay, well, what kind of money related things do I actually do? I don't really do a lot. I tend to spend. I'm a very bad person. But I do have a lot of these gift cards. We get a lot of gift cards around Christmas and my birthday, and they sit in a drawer and we forget to spend them, which, you know, is a problem because then they go wasted. So what I thought I'd do is make a little book that was able to be put in the car. So when we go to the shops, we can just kind of look at it and go, okay, well, do we have anything here that we could use at the shop we're at? And that's sort of where this whole thought process is coming from. So I'm going to use the Shop Till You Drop kit because obviously it's gorgeous. And I really want to use this amazing bit of paper for the front cover. Now, the only thing I'm thinking, though, is that I don't want to use the beautiful papers to make the inside pages. So this is where, if you haven't already seen the Planners Anonymous Etsy page, they have paper kits, printable paper kits for most of the kits now. They're $8.80 Australian, which is obviously a bit of an investment, but you get 10 bits of paper, I think, and you can print them out as many times as you like. If you're someone that loves PA like I love PA, you'll adore this. So what I've done is I've grabbed the Shop Till You Drop kit and I've printed out 4 of the watercolory backgrounds, and we're going to use these to make our little book. So the first thing I need to do is cut some 4-inch, and I'm going to work in inches a lot today, which I know is annoying for us Aussies, but inches sometimes makes more sense when you're working with folding and cutting a lot. It's just the way it's worked. So I'm just cutting off the strip on the edge so that I can put this straight into my trimmer and just cut it down to that 4 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And that's sort of how the base of the whole book's going to be made. So just trust me with this. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the others. The good thing is this doesn't use the whole bit of paper. You will end up with some extras, which you can use for other projects or anything else. And you can use obviously either side of the paper. You can use the light page or the dark page. And we'll pretty it all up in a minute with some extra die cuts and stickers and things. Then what we're going to do is come in and we're going to cut this little bit of white off either edge, and then we're going to start scoring these. So a scoreboard is going to be very handy here. It's not 100% a necessity, but it will make your life a little bit easier. We're going to score each of these at 5.5 inches. So there it is. I swear I had it. I put it down underneath all my papers. So grabbing the scoreboard, grabbing my little scoring tool, and we're going to score this at 5.5 doesn't sound right. I'm going to score it at 2 3/4. 5.5 is the total at the end. I knew that. So 2 3/4. We're going to score it, and then in a second I'm going to cut it down to 5.5. Now I've got all of my measurements here by measuring or using my actual gift cards as a guide. Obviously if the obviously if the gift cards you are using are slightly different, you could change it up, but this is sort of, it fits really nicely for the size I want to use here. So I'm going to fold all of these up, make sure I do it on the right score line for this one because I messed it up. That's okay. And I'm leaving the tails, or what I'm calling the tails, on the end for now because I'm going to cut this in a second. I think I did that on the wrong one. Wait a minute, let's check this one first. I think I did that one wrong. Which if I did, that's the bonus of having this more paper and the advantage, I guess, of being able to use the printable paper is that I know I can just cut another bit, print another bit if I'm really determined to have that particular spot. Because if I'd done this with the kit paper, I'd be really mad at myself right now. So it's this one. So I was going to cut that to the 4 inches again and do that fold. There's our little book pages. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to stick these all together and then cut the tails all off at once. So I'm going to make sure I go purple, pink, blue, blue. And we're going to stick these all down. So glue tape or liquid glue if that's what you want to use. Doesn't matter if you hit the little edge here, because it'll get cut off in a minute anyway, and I just want to make sure that I get it all the way to the end because I hate it when the paper falls apart. Now you can use your scoreboard or your MISTI to kind of help put these together. I find it's really helpful to have a straight edge. So you sort of get the hint, get the idea in a second. So it'll be, that'll cut off anyway, and then you have the next page. So go ahead and do all of this and I'll be right back. And you can obviously cut this, have more than just 4. So I've got 8 pages. You can have more if that's what you want to do, but I'm quite happy with just 4. And then I'm going to pop it back into the trimmer and just trim off that excess. And then I've got that nice clean line on it. So you sort of get the idea now. We've got our little book. So you've got your 1. I'm just going to give that a quick rub on the edge just to get rid of any sticky. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's actually lined up really nicely, which I'm pretty happy about. Alright, there's our pages. That's the start of the book. Now we're going to go ahead and make the cover. Now the cover is a little bit more complicated, and we're going to bring in something I don't think I've used on my channel before. This is a bit of, I think it's chipboard. It's what I'm calling chipboard. It's a really hard piece of cardboard. You don't need to use anything special. If you don't have some of this on hand, just go and grab yourself some really strong cardboard, like a cardboard box or something like that. It'll work fine. The idea is you just want something that's going to sort of hold up in the car for a little while. So we're going to cut this to start with into a strip. Now for this, I found the easiest way to do it is with a knife. I can't get it through my trimmer. It doesn't work. So this seems to be the easiest way. So I'm going to cut this to 4 1/4 inches, which is just a little bit bigger than my little book. And I'm using my T-ruler because then it's just a little bit easier. So I'm just lining that up. The T is going to hold right at the top here. And I'm just going to go straight down the edge. Try not to wiggle like I just did. I've obviously got my cutting mat underneath. And I'm just working it down until it's cut all the way through. Now I'm not quite hitting the end. My ruler's not quite as long as my card, but that's okay. So once I think I'm good, no, it's still got a bit to go. After a while, you can kind of let go of the ruler if you're brave enough. I don't know why I'm always too brave, but it's starting to get there. If someone knows an easier way to cut this stuff, please let me know. There must be one. And through there, there we go. There we go. I'm not going to use that bottom bit anyway. I'm just going to trim off that little bit at the top. Just make sure it's smooth. And then again, we're just going to cut this to be just a little bit bigger than our book. So we said that our book here was 2 3/4, so we're going to cut this to 3. So I'm just going to mark it off. Where'd that pencil go? Usually I put it in my hair. I'm also going to cut, mark off 6 just to have it there, but I'll probably just double check it before I cut it. So same thing as before, just working it down through the edges. Got to cut 2 of these, and then I've got to cut something for the spine. So I'm going to cut this to be just a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch. When I did a little practice one, which I'll show you at the end if you're interested, I did a little practice book, and I found that the 1/4 of an inch worked really well, but it was just a little bit too thin. So I'm just going to do this, I think it's 3/4 of an inch. I think that's, I have real issues working with inches unless you haven't worked that out. None of these have to be perfectly straight either. They're just going to be guides for the book cover. Obviously, if you can make it straight, it'll sort of have that slightly nicer finish. But it will all get covered, so it does help. Alright, so there's the basis for our little book, and now you can kind of start getting an idea of what's going to happen here. So I find the easiest way to make myself the actual book is to use a bit of tape. Now this is tape that I generally use for transferring vinyl, but it'll work beautifully for this as well. So I've put one on there. Doesn't have to be straight because we're going to cut off the edges anyway. I'm going to put the second one, or the spine, in, and I'm just going to line that up. I'm leaving a bit of gap in between. For anyone that's interested, it's about 1/8 of an inch in between. That gives it some wiggle room. And we'll do the same thing here. Now, this isn't supposed to hold it together completely. It's just supposed to hold it in place while we work out the actual covering of this. So I'm going to trim all this excess off. Doesn't need to be neat because it's not important. And if it does this and kind of feels like it's coming apart, that's okay, because it'll get all stuck down in just a second anyway. Okay, so there's our little book. You're starting to get the gist here. It'll sit like this. It'll put the pages in between, and it allows for a bit of bulk up because those cards will obviously add some bulk. So I'm going to get that beautiful piece of paper, which I kind of feel bad about using it to cover this, but that's what it's going to be done for. Oh, I can. Good. I was starting to think then for a minute I was going to have to use the long way, but I can use the short way. So it's 4 1/4. So I'm going to cut this to 5 1/4 so that I've got enough room to fold this up. Now this is slightly thicker cardstock than I was using before, because before I was using just the paper. So this is the little book that I did before that I'm basing all of this off. I'll give you a good look at it in a minute and explain to you the things that I did with this one that I would do to get differently, which is why I'm doing it again. This was just using the same paper, like my printer paper. This is obviously the PA cardstock, so it's a little bit thicker, but I think we should be okay. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off the end here. I should have had that a little bit more, but anyway. And then the idea here is you're going to flip it over and absolutely cover the cover in glue. Whatever kind of glue you are most comfortable with, use that. If you want to use double-sided tape, if you want to use adhesive sheets, it's whatever you like to use. Glue tape for me works fine, so I'm happy to use that. And then we're going to pop this down. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And give that a really good rub. Okay. And then we get to cut the edges. This is the part that I always panic about because I'm always worried about doing it wrong. I cut the triangles off and leave a little bit of space so that I can actually get under there. And then I bring my score tool in just to help me lift these up because this paper is a little bit thick and I don't want it to tear. I don't want it to kind of gusset. I want it to be a nice sort of cover fold. So again, lots of glue and we just stick that down. That's done really well. So the edges are the easy part in my opinion. Sorry, the short corners are the easy part because obviously we've got a slightly more complicated fold in a second. Oops. The other thing I love about the glue dots, the tape runner, is it gives me an opportunity to make a mistake. And if I need to take it off and pull it back, I can. So what I did for these ones was I cut to the kind of edge to make those, like get that little shape. So you still get that little triangle shape like you did on the other one. And then I did the same thing for the little spine, but I just made that a little bit straighter. And then I just trimmed off these two little triangles. So doesn't have to be 100%, probably won't look perfect, but it'll get close. And at least that gives you the allowance for the spine to be covered as well. So we'll do that one again. Just into the, not quite the corner, it's kind of just a little bit sort of away from the corner. And then you end up with this sort of extra triangle that's easy to fold up into here. I'm going to use the score tool again though. Give me that nice edge. The only thing I'm worried about on this one is the little corner. It folded nicely. Hooray! And then the other good thing about glue dots, or my glue tape, which I tend to call glue dots sometimes, is that you just have to rub it and the excess will come off. Alright, so then we have our covered book, and then all I'm going to do is use the tape to allow that fold. So you'll sort of start to feel it and it'll work exactly where you want it to. When we get going with this in a minute, when we start actually putting it all together, I'll do a little bit more with the cover to get it to sit in the right spot. But there's the basis of it. And I love it. It's so pretty. So pretty. Alright, for the edges here, I'm going to cover them. That's a me thing. Don't have to do it. I just feel like I want to not be able to see anything. Actually, hold on. Yeah, I am going to see it on the bottom. I should have had a little bit more paper. Actually, maybe I don't. So this is where it looks a bit weird, because you're going to put this down on the edges, because when you close it, it'll be perfect. And then when you open it, that's where that spine being able to wiggle does its thing, and it opens that way. Actually, it might be okay. So, grab the page that you had. So the front one, it doesn't really matter, but pop that down with the spine all the way at the top. Make sure it's even. Now I can see a little bit of the cardboard, but if you wanted to make it so you can't, that's obviously a your choice thing. So that's now stuck. And then we do the exact same thing with the other one, which seems, again, weird, but trust me. So we close the book up. You want to sort of wiggle the spine up out of the way. And you sort of close it on itself. I forgot about a special kind of trick I was going to do. Which I'll hold on. see if I can still do it. I don't think I can because I think I've got this paper down. So I'm just trying to pull this up. Again, glue dots, they're not permanent yet, so I've got some time. If this starts to pull anything apart though, I'm just going to put it straight back down again. Oh no, we're good, we're good. Okay, this is going to be the testing part because this has been stuck for a bit and I did push really hard. Excellent. So I don't need to pull it the whole way up, just need to pull it a little bit. I'm grabbing my crocodile hole punch and I'm just going to go in here as far as it'll go up to the top, and I'm just punching a hole in that. And then I have, if I can find it, this teeny tiny little magnet. Now I bought this from Officeworks. They have these tiny little magnet packs. So I'm going to put this back down. I'm going to pop this in. It fits perfectly. And then I can put that back together. If you need to put any more glue on it, obviously you can, but actually this is folding up very nicely. This is the only hard part so far, is getting this part to line up, because I want this to be a nice kind of spot as well, like nicely covered. I don't want it to not be straight or not quite right, so I'm just working it to get it to do what I want. There we go. It's nice. And then again, you just fold the book because it will fold up, and then grab your score tool and just give that spine a bit of love, and that'll help guide it. Now the spine feels a bit big, I know. It's part of the point here. It's part of the point. And it will feel a bit like it doesn't want to fold open or fold flat or do any of the things. It does. It folds exactly where you need it to, and it's fine. The more you work it, the easier it'll become. That one feels like it's not sitting in the right spot. Oh, that's because of that. That's right. It'll learn. It'll learn. So I'm trying to find which side I put the magnet on. I can't remember. This is just a piece of bit of magnet sheet. Get this from Officeworks as well. It's what I use to put all my stamps and dies on. And we're going to use this to do the closure for this, which is going to be this cute little card. So I'm going to pop. These are the die cuts which have the adhesive on the back, or at least they used to, and now I'm scared that they don't. So I'm going to pop that off and put the magnet straight down. I'm just making sure that that's stuck. It's not going to be a hold it 100% closed. If I did something like this, which is another one of the magnets, it's really strong. You can feel that's like it's a big hit. But I don't need to do that. And I also don't have any metal. Not that I could use like that before anyway, so I'm just going to use this and it'll be fine. So I'm just, as a practice, I'm just working out. There we go, that needs to sit about there. That picks that up. And then I can just go ahead and add in some paper on the back. Now I'm going to use two things here. First thing is a little bit of cardboard to kind of even out the size of the magnet, because I want it to be flat. So this is just a piece of scrap that I have sitting in here, and I'm just going to lay it down on there. And just fill it up. This is going to need 2 layers, so I'm going to go ahead and stick all of this together, and I will be right back. So it's got 3 layers of cardstock, which has kind of evened it up onto the right spot. And then it doesn't really matter what you use on the back, but I'm going to add in a little bit of fun paper because I can. So same thing, just going to cut it, stick it down with the glue tape. You can go all over the magnet because it doesn't make any difference. Now, the only thing that I am worried about slightly is with all those extra bits of paper, is it still going to stick? Yeah, it still sticks. Good, good. Alright, I know I said you can cut it with your trimmer, and you can. I actually think it's just easier with the scissors. I'm just working around the sides. And I'm having another horrible thought. I think I've forgotten to do something again. I need to put the ribbon on somehow. So that sits on there. And the idea was that there was going to be a ribbon. Put it on the pencil. That kind of kept it closed. But I've forgotten to put the ribbon on. But that's okay, because I can just do what I did before. Just lift this up a little bit. A bit more glue tape on there. It doesn't need to be a very long ribbon. This is just a blue ribbon that I've had left over from other projects. There we go. Still sticks. And then we'll stick that down on the back. And I'll stick that using some liquid glue because I want that to definitely stick. And it will be a little loose. It won't fit perfectly always because obviously we're allowing for some room. I'm actually going to hold off putting that back on until I've put in some pockets. So I tried 3 or 4 different ways to do this. I tried to do it with glue dots. I tried to do it with double-sided tape, and nothing kind of worked the way I wanted it to. There it is. Because everything kind of, it tore. So this is the one that I made before that I was telling you about, and see, the glue dots just tore everything as I pulled them off. And I want this to be reusable. I want it to be able to take something out and then put it back in. So what I'm going to do is pop down some little pockets. Now it'll make it a bit more, it'll make it a bit thicker, and it will probably not be quite as lovely as it was, but that's sort of the reasons behind having the extra cover, extra spine, is so that this allows for this. So what you need to do is work out how wide your cards are. I think mine are 3 3¼ which is why everything was sort of a bit bigger than that, just over 3¼ So I'm going to make all of these pockets 3½, which we made all of these for, so that'll be fine. So if they're 3½ inches, 3½ inches, no, that way. So I need to cut all of these to be 4½ to allow some folding room. So we're going to go 4½. We're going to go a little smaller than 4½ on this one because it's not quite there. And then you're going to give it a bit at the bottom. So I think 1/2 inch is a really good little amount. And then 1/2 inch for the side. And then this side's going to be just a little bit smaller because, like I said, it's not quite 4½. So I just want this to be to 4. And I'll just deal with the fact that it's a little smaller. Now this one's actually a little tall. I'm going to cut it down so it's 1.5 inches. And then go ahead and fold this all up. And then, once this is all folded, the cutting of the pockets is a tricky one. What I like to do is a straight cut on the bottom, and then for this top bit I kind of go straight and then go a bit wonky, and that gives me a really good kind of, it doesn't hit at any point. I find if you cut a straight line, it will still hit. So hold on, just to show you. See how that it's just got a teensy little bit, and this just allows for that bit of room so it doesn't hit each other on the way up. Because I hate that. I hate when it's a little bit more, there we go. I hate when there's just a little bit more bulk. I also just have a really little cut on the top, which then allows you not to have to see any of the back. So once we've done that, open up to this first page. I'm even going to use the cover page. That's really bugging me. And it was because I folded that first one wrong, like the back one for the cover. It had the extra bit was sticking there. It'll get trained. It will work eventually. Like it does work. It's just a slight annoyance. When you shut it, it fits fine. It sits fine. It's just when you open it, which you know is kind of 3/4 of the time you're using it. But anyway, I'm just going to go with it because otherwise I'll annoy myself. So you pop that little pocket in, glue, glue, and glue. We pop the little pocket in, give it a good rub. And then our little card sits in the pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and make all the pockets really quickly because they're all the same, and that way I can sort of show you guys exactly what it is. I'm just going to rotate through the papers, pick up a couple of all the different ones, and just sort of see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of that, and I'll be right back for our finish up. Alright, so I have all my pockets in. I'll give you a bit of a look while I put some of these cards in. Part of me is having a panic attack that I didn't accidentally put the magnet at the back, but I didn't. So you just pop them in. They sit in there really nicely. They're really snug. There we go. And as you can see, that's now added some bulk, which is why I'm glad I did the extra bit of the cover, because that's only got 5 in it and it feels really heavy. So I'm glad that we've done the other. So the last thing I want to do before I put the ribbon on it and call it done is I want to try something. So this is one that I messed up, but I'm actually going to use a bit of paper, not plastic, scrap paper for it. This is just a bit of plain old sticky tape. Probably the oldest, most crap sticky tape in the entire world. I want to try it with invisible tape as well. So I'm just popping that on the front there. And I'm just drawing a little box around it for the invisible tape so I can actually see it. Go away. So I just want to try something. So this is me. I like to write stuff on cards to know how much money I've got left on them. So this is a whiteboard pen. It's one that I've had for a while. $7. This isn't how much money's on there. I meant to do $7.50, but anyway. And this is just a test. Because I want to see if they both rub off. I know that the plastic one will. The invisible one does, but not as well. So we're going to use plastic. And just on the little strip here, I'm just going to add a bit of tape. Now it's going to look completely, you're not going to see it. But what it's going to mean is that I can write myself little notes on the tape to be able to go, if it's got nothing on there, it's unused. If it's got an amount on there, it means there's still, like that's how much money is left on the card. And it'll just be an easy way for me to do it. And the good thing is I'll be able to pop the receipt in the little pocket. That's not a big enough one. I'll be able to put the receipt in the pocket until I get home or until I get back to the car, wherever my whiteboard marker would be, because I probably won't carry a whiteboard marker around with me all the time. So it's just an extra little addition, and like I said, you can tell it's there. You can see when it's shiny. But if I could go on here and I could go, okay, there's $12.50. I could either do that as left or spent, and I'll work that out as I do it. But then when I'm finished, or when it's done and I want to change it for the next one, I just rub it off and you'll never know it was even there. I actually think that's really clever. Alright, so let's put the final touch to it. Is it going to actually keep it forcefully closed? No, but it's just going to keep it nicely together. So I'm just going to actually use a bit of this tape while it's here. Let's work out roughly where I want to put it. I reckon there. It sits rather nicely. So then I'm going to grab liquid glue for this, because this is definitely not a glue tape job. The glue tape would work for a period of time, but not a permanent adhesion. So I'll just put that on the back. Probably put a bit much on. It's alright. Just going to pick up a little bit of that. My ribbon's obviously pretty thin, so didn't quite hit it at the right spot, but that's okay. Whoops, I moved. I actually like it once it's gone tacky. It makes it a bit easier to work with. So it'll sit like that. I'm going to cut this excess off. And then of course we can't leave it sitting like that. We've got to put something on the back. This is where I'm going to grab another die cut. I don't think so. Shopping bag maybe? Can have some flour. No, not the flowers. The piggy bank's a bit big, but the piggy bank's full. I've been using all of this, so my dies are everywhere. I think I'm leaning towards the shopping bag. I think that looks really pretty. Okay, so pop that in the right spot again. And again, this has got double-sided adhesive already on it. So I don't need to glue anything down. I can just use this. Just popping that down so it covers the whole thing. That little bit of extra adhesive will help that ribbon as well. So the ribbon sits there, holds it down, and then you just flick it shut, and you've got your little gift card holder. Now, if you're someone that doesn't do gift cards, it could be a good receipt holder. It could be a good savings tracker. There's like, you could use the general gist of the book for basically anything. But I think that's really cool. And I probably will make more of these little books. I'm actually having a lot of fun with them. Probably been watching too much stuff while I've been on holidays about albums and things, and now I'm stuck on the idea. But for PA especially, where we have all these cute die cuts that join together, we've got all these beautiful papers, and now we've got the printable papers as well for a lot of the kits. Like I'm looking at it now, and there's Girls Trips there, which is obviously one of the new ones. But it's got some of the old ones as well. It's got Riviera, it's got Baked with Love, which is a really old one, but so one of my favourites. Dream Chasers, Sweetheart. There's lots there that you can use that would be beautiful to make any kind of book. And you can team it up with some of your old kits, because I'm sure you've got some hanging around. So there we go. That's my little gift card holder book. This is going to go straight in my car after I finished filming this and taking some videos. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you had, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. There's lots of other Planners Anonymous projects here on my channel, so I will put a playlist at the end of this video if you'd like to check that out. Hope you guys have an absolutely awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!